Samsung's J series of devices is Samsung's attempt to regain the ground lost to Chinese brands in the mid-range segment. Taking a page out of the Chinese playbook, Samsung's going exclusively online with these phones. So today, let's take a closer look at the smaller of these two devices, the Galaxy J5. But before we do, if this is your first time here or in case you just can't remember, my name's Ash, this is C4E Tech, and you're watching my full review of the Samsung Galaxy J5. Let's get started. Let's start with the build. The J5's build is a throwback to Samsung's phones from years past. Fog chrome to the sides with a plastic back that's removable. Underneath, we have two microSIM card slots, a microSD card slot, and a user replaceable 2600 mAh battery. I do prefer a dedicated microSD slot over a hybrid slot, so points to Samsung here. To the front, on top, we have a LED, earpiece, sensors, and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. Lower below, we have Samsung branding followed by a 5-inch display. At the bottom, we have the familiar physical home key flanked by the capacitive recent apps and back keys. Note that these keys aren't backlit. To the back, we have an LED flash, a 13 megapixel rear camera, and a speaker. Lower below, we have Samsung branding again, followed by the Duo's branding. We have the volume rockers to the left and the power button to the right. The microphone, micro USB port, and the headphone jack can be found at the bottom. It's worth noting that there's no secondary noise cancelling microphone here. The J5 is 7.9mm thick and weighs in at about 145 grams. Given the form factor, it's pretty easy to hold and use single-handed. Being smaller than the J7, the slippery back isn't so much of a concern here. Moving on, underneath the hood, the J5 is powered by the 64-bit Snapdragon 410 chip. That's 4 Cortex A53 cores clocked at 1.2 GHz each, coupled with an Adreno 306 GPU and 1.5 gigs of RAM. Snapdragon 410 on the J5 performs like pretty much every other implementation we've seen in the past. Respectable benchmark scores, handles casual games very well, some intensive titles are playable as well, with only the most intensive of games causing stutters. No overheating issues here either. Sadly, the audio levels via the rear speaker is quite low. Call quality and audio via the 3.5mm headphone jack was pretty good though. The Galaxy J5 sports a Gorilla Glass covered 5-inch Super AMOLED HD display. This is a 720p display, meaning a pixel density of 294 pixels per inch. That's sharper than the Galaxy J7. The colors are still mildly warm, but it's an AMOLED display, meaning the blacks are deep and the viewing angles are stellar. Moreover, this display can get really bright, so it's pretty legible outdoors. Again, Samsung's failed to include an auto brightness sensor here, so you'd have to keep manually adjusting brightness. It's really disappointing, especially when you take into account that Samsung skimped out on other basic sensors as well, so things like the compass aren't gonna work here. Additionally, the J5 can detect only 2 touch points at once. This is surprising given that the J7 can detect 10. Do note that this hasn't really affected my day-to-day usage of the device though. On the bright side, the J5 has support for USB OTG, and that's a welcome addition given that there's only 8 gigs of onboard storage with less than 5 gigs available to the end user. Now, all this is powered by a 2600 mAh user replaceable battery, and the battery performance was great. On a looping video playback test, the Galaxy J5 lasted close to 12 hours before running out of juice. I constantly got over 5 hours of screen on time with my typical usage. If that wasn't enough, Samsung's thrown in power saving options including the ultra power saving mode to help you get more out of this battery. Let's now talk about the cameras. The Galaxy J5, like the J7, has a 13 megapixel rear camera and a 5 megapixel front-facing shooter. The rear camera performs decently. Images shot with it have ample levels of detail, the colors were natural, and thanks to the wide aperture, you can get some beautiful bokehs here. Like the camera on the J7, the one on the J5 also has a tendency to mildly overexpose shots at times. Under low or artificial lighting scenarios, the performance was again adequate. This camera can also shoot 1080p videos, and the videos turned out good, in line with the still image performance that we've seen so far. The 5 megapixel front camera uses a wide-angle lens and produces similarly good results. Samsung's also thrown in an LED here. Like with the J7, this is not a flash, it's more of a LED light that you can turn on and off as per the situation. Nice. This is the regular Samsung camera UI with some common modes available. HDR is noticeably missing. The one new addition here is the Pro mode. That's new for the budget range. But it's bare bones, it's been stripped down a lot, and all you can do is just change the white balance, exposure, and ISO. Anyway, the camera UI is pretty slick, responsive, shutter speed's fast, focus times are okay, no lag while jumping between the camera and the gallery. I really like the inclusion of the quick camera launch feature here. This lets you double press the home key to launch the camera at any time. Talking about the user interface, the Galaxy J5 runs on Android 5.1 Lollipop with Samsung's new Touchwiz UI on top. This is the new and deep-loaded Touchwiz, so the performance is quite good. There's a bunch of Samsung's own apps and even a few Microsoft apps pre-installed. Additionally, there are quite a few games preloaded and sadly these can't be uninstalled, just disabled. Then there's the theme store that lets you customize the look and feel of the UI. The Samsung theme store has been growing quite fast and you have a lot of themes to choose from. In association with Gameloft, the J5 also ships with an app called GameZone on board. This app provides you in-game credits for up to 3200 rupees for these 4 games. If you are interested in any of these games, this might be a sweet deal for you. Overall, the user experience on the Galaxy J5 was pretty decent. The user interface felt smooth with apps opening up quick without any lag or stutter for the most part. Priced at 11,999 rupees and readily available to buy, the Galaxy J5 seems to be Samsung adapting to the changing market trends. There are some obvious cons here. 1. Lack of sensors including auto brightness, low output levels for the speaker, lack of a secondary noise cancelling microphone, fewer multi-touch points, lack of a notification LED, lack of a backlight for the capacitive keys, and haptic feedback. Once again, just like with the J7, haptic feedback is actually present, but Samsung's just disabled it for some reason, most probably to demarcate the J series from the more premium offerings. You can activate haptic feedback with third-party keyboard replacement apps like SwiftKey. So there are a bunch of trade-offs here, but if you do want a Samsung phone at this price, this is what you have. This is probably one of the better phones that Samsung's put out at this price range. Are there better offerings in general? Yes, the third generation Moto G for one. We actually have an in-depth comparison pitting the J5 against the Moto G, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description along with a card here. But if you do want a Samsung phone, like I said, in this price range, you'd have to be willing to look past these long list of corners being cut. If you're able to look past it, then the J5 is probably not a bad choice for you. It does have a good display, decent cameras, it offers excellent battery life and has 4G LTE support, so it's not all bad. If you were in the market today for a phone in this price range, what would you choose? Does the J5 seem attractive to you? Let me know in the comments below. So I guess that's it for my review of the Galaxy J5. Hope you liked the video, hope you found it useful. If you did, please do give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, vote it down. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. If you do want to help the channel out, do consider changing your Flipkart URL to one with the affiliate code so that we get a little something each time you shop. You can find the links in the description below under where to buy. So thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4E Tech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.